Hey guys, welcome back to Floater Gang. Today we're going to be talking about just the playoffs again and just the state of the playoffs. So we're going to start out east and talk about the only game seven that's happening in the second round, Celtics versus Sixers. Um, Definitely the most competitive series, obviously, because it's going to seven. And also the most exciting series. Who do you think has the advantage going into game seven, or what's the top storyline going into game seven?
That's tough. I mean, both teams have shown they can play. Um, I think the Celtics, as of right now, probably have a bit more hope, just considering that they're home. Tatum scored 3 points in the first three quarters of the last game, and they still won that game. So I think just the fact that you know that even if Tatum's not scoring much, you can still win and you can get past them. I mean, I know Smart had like 24, but just knowing you have enough power on your team to score, you don't need both Brown and Tatum to get you 30 points.
Yeah.
Um, but then if you want to look at it from the Heat, I personally think the Heat would want the Sixers to win this just because I think they can match up and I feel like the Heat have or the Sixers lack as much star power as the Celtics do, and that's why I think it'll be easier for the Heat to contend against the Sixers and the
Well, yeah.
Celtics.
So the difference between Sixers and Celtics, like you said, the Celtics just have more guys that can do it too.
Exactly.
They got Brogdon, Smart, JT,
White.
JB. Al Horford will have a 3-pointer game. Even Grant Williams last year.
Yeah,
We saw that in the game
that's
seven.
true. You have Derek White too. Rob Williams is finally getting his minutes. He
Yeah,
had 10
yeah.
points, 9 rebounds.
I mean, they just got so many guys that can hurt you. So obviously, but obviously, I think Philly has the more explosive core
if they all get
of
going.
stars, yeah. Maxey, Harden, Embiid. And when at least two of them are going, they're winning the game usually. Um, I mean, we saw that in game one, we saw that in game 4 and 5. Um, so yeah, I mean, they have to get their stars uh active early and often. Harden has to perform, Maxey has to perform, and I mean, I have confidence that Embiid will at least uh, put up as many shots as possible. Um, but yeah, I do think the Celtics have the advantage. I mean, obviously they were. I mean, it kind of felt like they were dead in the water at the end of the third quarter of the last game, and then Jason Tatum had. Um, I mean, I don't want to say it was a legendary performance, but it was definitely
Great
it
fourth
was
quarter.
yeah, it was
It was a good fourth quarter for him.
yeah, for sure. I mean, after struggling that much, I mean, he was shooting single digit percentage
Oh yeah.
through the first 2 quarters, and then he hit 4 threes in that fourth, totally turned the game around. Um, I mean, Sixers just fell apart offensively. But the Sixers have won more games than Boston in Boston this series, so that it's also an interesting storyline. Can Boston defend home court? But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm gonna stick with my original series pick. I'm gonna pick Boston to win this. They have experience. Sucks for Philly and beat and Harden. I mean, I think they're right there, but
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's interesting too because you were saying you hope Embiid takes a lot of shots. I think they have a better chance if he doesn't force a bunch of shots and they play basketball. And then the other interesting thing too is I heard that Embiid might look at leaving if they lose this game, if they lose the series. So that'll be really interesting for Philly too if they have to let Embiid go or do whatever is necessary to keep him. I don't know how badly they want to keep him, but
also I heard that I mean Harden's a free agent, and
that's
we've
true.
seen Houston potentially have some interest.
So who knows? Maybe Sixers are going to go to rebuild if they lose this.
I mean, it could be drastic changes going on.
Yeah.
And also, what Philly does will impact what Milwaukee does. And say if Boston loses, Jaylen Brown could want out. Anyway,
It could be this game could be really interesting in
I mean,
franchise.
it's probably the most important game in recent 76er and Celtic history.
Probably. Yeah.
You got two All NBA, All Star caliber players on the line that could potentially leave and have shown interest in potentially leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really interesting. But like what you said, I agree with you. Embiid can't just chuck up shots. I mean, if you do put up a lot of shots, you got to make sure it's within the flow of the offense.
And it's a good shot. Like don't force shots because like you said, you have Harden and Maxey, and
Yeah,
if you get both of them going and Embiid scores 10, they can still win.
because when you put the ball in Harden's hands, and you give him not necessarily the green light. Oh yeah, give him the green light to operate. The offense runs better, and that's not a knock on Embiid or Maxey. That's just Harden's a great playmaker, and he's going to make opportunities easier for everyone. So yeah, you gotta put the ball in James Harden's hand. You gotta give them that confidence, the green light to make stuff happen, and that's when they've been most successful.
You gotta trust Harden
Yeah.
at playing point. I mean, that's what you gotta do with your point guard. You gotta trust them.
And Harden has to perform. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's like a 49-51%.
Oh yeah, I think I mean, I really think it can go either way.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, personally, I prefer Boston just as in like who I like more and stuff, but I think for the Heat, the Sixers are better. So it's interesting, and then obviously, like you said, both of them changes will probably come for the losing team in this game. So that'll be interesting to look at that and see what changes are going to be made.
Yeah, a lot on the line. Let's go to the other East series then. The Heat took down the Knicks finally. It was an interesting series because versus Milwaukee, it kind of seemed like it was just Jimmy Butler willing them to victory. But Jimmy Butler was hampered somewhat, seemingly, or he just wasn't performing. We saw him injure the ankle early on, and he didn't have a bad series, but he was not doing what he did versus Milwaukee. But the supporting cast really stepped up. That man really stepped up too, Jalen Brunson. But staying on the Heat, we saw Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, Max Strus. Bam was great in the last couple of games.
Last game especially.
Yeah. I saw the stat in closeout games. He averages. Let me try to find it, but he's been really good in their closeout games.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about the Heat in this series too is I heard a lot of people right there like, no, the Heat can't. They're not going to make it far. Jimmy Butler's carrying, but like you said, he had a good series, but he didn't score 40, 50 every game. He scored 20s every game. And I think that shows a lot to that he does have a supporting cast. They might not be the most consistent and you might not always know which guy will step up, but they do have guys to step up and they will have someone step up. And then if Bam can keep up his scoring as well and just his game like he did last game, I think they still look great. I still think they have a great potential like going to the finals. I mean, obviously they're in the conference finals now, so they clearly have shown that they can play basketball as a team. And then Jalen Brunson too. I mean, I feel bad for him honestly, especially his last 3 games. He scored 32, 38, and 41, and they lost 2 of those.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But I mean, I'm sure the Knicks fans like that, but obviously you wish Julius Randle would do better and just that you could win some playoff games and actually keep going.
So the Knicks lack a true one. Well, Jalen Brunson, I think, can be your number one option
I think
on offense.
Definitely.
You just need a good number 2. And Julius Randle was not a good number 2, simply. RJ Barrett played great.
He was a pretty good number 2, but you need Randle to be number 2.
Yes, and obviously we've seen guys like Stephen A. Smith, demand for another star. I don't know if they do that. I think you run this core back, maybe add some more depth pieces, add some more shooting. But yeah, you need Julius Randle to step up, and obviously in his career he hasn't really done that.
Yeah. And then it didn't help that Quentin Grimes. I mean, he got injured first round, and then he shot horribly last game. It was I think like 12% or something. I mean, he was bad. He missed a potential not game time, but it would have made it a 1-point game if he missed that 3. So Quentin Grimes did fall off a little bit, especially that last game too. I mean, obviously he's not like a star player, but he was a good role player for them. He could get a few buckets. He didn't step up that last game at all. So that was sad for them as well.
Yeah. But yeah, like But
16.7%. I mean, he only shot 6 times, but that's bad.
Yeah. But yeah, like we said, I mean, the Knicks had a great season. I mean, coming into it, I thought they would be a playing team. They ended up making the playoffs, winning a playoff series.
And credit to Jalen Brunson. I mean, I thought he was going to make him better, but he showed that
I mean,
can definitely I think he can definitely be an all-star next year. I mean, he
should have been this
he
year.
debatably was an all-star this season. So he showed he's an all-star caliber player for sure. And I think that's just great for him too. I mean, gotta love that, right? When players just show that they can play.
Yeah.
And then like you said, I mean, I think maybe if they do move a few pieces, but I think overall, I mean, Mitchell Robinson's got to figure out like how to play his role. He didn't always play very well. I mean, they're still kind of young, but there's something that's missing. Whether it's consistency or whether it's them looking at maybe getting rid of a few players, getting a few new players. But they definitely, I think, outperformed a lot of people's expectations, especially on defense. I mean, their defense was killer.
What would you think about like a Paul George or Julius Randle?
That'd be interesting, but like we said too, Clippers apparently aren't interested in trading Paul George or Kawhi, but that could be interesting. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see. But I mean, like I said, I don't know if that'll happen or.
No, yeah, just an idea, but
And I don't even know if that's. I mean, you'd have to add other pieces with Julius Randle because I don't think that's a fair 1-on-1 trade. Julius for PG.
Yeah.
So you have to look at that too.
Yeah, so his Julius Randle's scoring dropped from 25.1 points per game to 16.6. Field goal percentage dropped from 46 to 37, 34% from 3 to 26, 76% from the line to 71. Rebounds dropped, assists dropped, steals dropped.
I mean,
turnovers went up.
Yeah.
He just was not good.
I mean, he's consistently shown us, unfortunately, that he can't step up in the playoffs, at least not yet. Last few times, I mean, he just hasn't played to what he plays or better in the playoffs. He just simply falls off in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, this season obviously was hurt, so that didn't help. But overall, he hasn't shown that he can step up in the playoffs.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to
keep an eye on, see what they're doing there.
I mean, I expect him to run the same core back, and I wouldn't blame him if they did. I mean, I had some shooting as well, but yeah, so that'll be interesting to watch. So let's go out west. 2 teams close out their series in 6. We'll start with Suns versus Nuggets. What do you like most about that series?
That series was interesting. I mean, Jokic, I mean, honestly, he should have three-peated. I think he deserved the three-peat over Embiid's MVP, but shout out to Embiid for getting that MVP. And then Jamal Murray's finally starting to get a consistent rhythm, stepping up. So I think the Nuggets are amazing. Suns are kind of falling apart. I mean, you had Chris Paul hurt, but you also had Monty Williams say that they're probably going to get rid of him. I also heard some rumors that he yelled at Ayton after the last game saying you gave away the game at the end and stuff like that. So the Suns, I mean, I feel like it's kind of been happening for a little while. I mean, this season especially. I mean, there's been multiple occasions where they're not fights, but verbal arguments among the bench with the coach and everything. So they need to get things going there too. And Ayton too, it's interesting because I heard too he said he loved being in Phoenix. He wants to be in Phoenix, but I mean he's probably just saying that, but it's interesting too because like I said, right, if you're arguing with your coach doesn't seem to like you. He doesn't seem to want Chris Paul. I mean, the move might be fire Monty. He might be the problem. Yeah. I mean,
I think you need one more year of Monty. Because
I don't know, but they got to figure it out because they can't seem to get any chemistry really.
Yeah. Either. I mean, and it's a valid point to bring up because Monty has failed. I mean, 3 straight years. I mean, he got them to the finals. I commend them for that. Or not commend. Yeah, commend.
Applaud.
Yeah,
but the interesting thing too is right out of the last 5 years, 4 of the finals coaches have been fired, and that's not including Steve Kerr, and he probably won't. So might as well add to that list.
But like you said, they've had just collapses, You know, they were up 2-0 against Milwaukee, blew it. Up 2-0 against Mavs, obviously, and then that game 7 happened.
Yeah. Well, the thing
and
too
then,
is the Suns, they gave away the good role players too with Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, Durant's great, but
well, so I don't think they beat the
necessarily.
Nuggets with Mikal and Cam. I mean, maybe if they're playing like Brooklyn, Mikal and Cam, they would. But like how they were playing at the time, I don't think they would have beat the Nuggets. But they gave away a lot of their depth. And obviously, I don't think this obviously isn't a 1-year move. Trading for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it was more of a.
I mean, it was a win now
move,
but it was also to win multiple championships, and they have this offseason to get some depth. I think Chris and Ayton are probably gone. I mean, I did see some rumors that they might just cut Chris Paul because he has like his contract's not fully guaranteed or something like that. And obviously, I don't know what you can get out of Ayton at this point. I mean, if that Miles Turner trade is still on the table, you absolutely take it.
I don't think it is.
It probably
he got the extension already. He had his best career of his season so far. I doubt it. I think their best move is honestly to try to package him.
Yeah,
I mean that's probably their best move is trying to get something out of him.
Maybe a Kyrie sign and trade. I don't know. I mean, we saw the rumors that Kyrie may be interested in Phoenix. I don't know. I don't know where you go.
Well, I heard Phoenix was looking at Rozier and Fred VanVleet as well, so they might end up looking at Charlotte and Toronto more than Kyrie, but who knows?
And Toronto and Charlotte, I think, are both pretty center needy. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I don't even know though.
The Hornets have some young guys, and
the Hornets. I mean, they're a young team. I don't know if they really. I don't know. They might be interested in that.
Yeah,
and then I guess CP is a good veteran to have. And then I don't even know the Raptors. I feel like they only have bigs, honestly.
Yeah, but Jakob Poeltl's a free agent, so they're lacking a true center unless they bring him back. Yeah. And then there were reports that Toronto was going to look to make significant changes.
That's true.
I mean, maybe fired Nurse. Maybe Nick Nurse was that significant change. I don't know. And shout out to JJ Redick, potentially. He's in the running for the Raptors head coach job.
Oh wow! So that could actually, honestly, I could see him being a good coach.
Yeah, maybe
who knows? Not every previous player.
Maybe he could be like a Steve Kerr type, you know.
Maybe, or he could be like a Steve Nash. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I like him. I prefer him to be more like a Steve Kerr, but you never know. I mean, you can't always tell. It just, I mean, some of them have it, some of them don't.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about Jamal Murray, and just the rest of I mean, because we know Nikola Jokic is freaking great, but I mean, I'm gonna just read the stats real quick in this series. 34.5 points per game, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, crazy good efficiency.
He shot 59% from field, 44.4% from three. I mean, that's not too many. That's only 18 attempts.
85% from the line. Anyway.
Yeah.
12 plus 12 plus minus.
Yeah, he's pretty good. And like I said, Jamal Murray too, he stepped up. I mean, he had that one bad game where he scored 10 points on 20% shooting, but even with that, he averaged almost 25 points, 6.5 assists, 5 rebounds, also shot 45% and 36%. Like I said, that's including a 20% performance with 0% from threes.
Yeah.
So I mean, that shows you that unless he has a really bad game, and even if there's one other game where he shot 16% from three. So he definitely stepped up. He just needs to keep it up. Keep his eye out for passes too. Don't force shots, which I think he's been really good at actually. And yeah, 92 free throw. I mean, you can rely on him. You can rely on Jokic. Michael Porter Jr., I feel like you never know how many points he's going to score, which I think can kind of hurt. I mean, because KCP helped them a lot in that last game with 21 points. I mean, they kind of blew out the whole game though, but I think KCP's quick 21 points up a lot with that.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I was worried about was just the rest of the Nuggets and the playoffs, and so far Jamal Murray's performed, KCP, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown has been great off the bench. Same with Bruce Brown. He's arguably the sixth man of the playoffs so far. I can see it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess besides Brogdon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Malcolm Brogdon's probably.
I mean, he got
But
6 man of the year,
yeah,
so he probably
um,
stays there.
but yeah. Uh, um, but yeah, they've stepped up. Obviously, Michael Porter Jr.'s kind of been a wild card.
I feel like he's kind of been like that for a while, which kind of hurts them because
Yeah,
he's supposed to be a good, reliable scorer, and I mean, he is when he is, but if he's not scoring, then and you never know when you're going to get that,
yeah.
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but if he's got to keep cutting shooting the ball well. And I think the Nuggets will have no problem matching up with the Lakers. So let's go to that series. Yeah, so let's talk about the Lakers first. They dismantled Golden State. Um, I don't think it was ever really in doubt. I mean, the corgi kind of gave me a little bit of hope for the Warriors, uh, but yeah, the Lakers kind of just dominated that series. Um, uh, Anthony Davis.
He actually played pretty consistent.
Well, so I was like a little skeptical about whether or not he could bring every night offensively, and he brought it pretty consistently. He wasn't amazing, but his defense was just so freaking good.
All playoffs too, though.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I mean the Lakers are the best defensive team in the playoffs left.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, just in general, since the trade, they've been the best defensive team
yeah,
in the league.
yeah. And it's been really I mean it's been just a crazy turnaround. Obviously we clown the Lakers a lot, or you like the Lakers, but the NBA community clowns the Lakers
Especially
a
throughout
lot.
the whole season.
Yeah, but these playoffs, I mean, and the last half of the regular season, they've just been really special, and it's just incredible that they're here at this point. I would have never thought they would be here.
Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy. And Davis, like we said, his defense, he's averaging 1.4 steals and 3.25 blocks per game in the entire playoffs right now.
Yeah.
And like we said, in this last round, especially, he started he wasn't like fantastic, but he was consistent. You got about like 20 points from him. I know the last game, I think he got 17 points and 20 rebounds, and obviously him and LeBron and the starters didn't play the last like 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. So I think if you can at least count on him getting around 20 points, double-digit rebounds, it's something because you know what you can expect, right? You know, okay, he'll get us 20 points. We'll have to do the rest. He'll get us some rebounds, right? Instead of being like, okay, he might score 35 this game, but next game he's only scoring 12.
Yeah.
So I think that just consistency helps a lot, right? Because you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. So yeah, who do you like in the series?
That one's tough, honestly. I think both teams have a really great chance at winning that because they're both, like we said, they've both totally showed they can compete and play basketball. And obviously they're in the conference finals, but I feel like they're both matched up really well too, right? Because you have Jokic and Davis. Obviously LeBron is LeBron, he's kind of floating around, but just in general, I feel like the overall matchup is very consistent and similar for both teams. And the interesting thing is it's kind of more right an offensive-ish powerhouse versus more of a defensive powerhouse. So that could be interesting depending on which one.
Both teams have showed that they could do
either one.
The latter, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They've both shown they're all around.
Yeah, the Nuggets were able to lock down the Suns, especially the last couple games, the last 2 games. They just sent 2 bodies. They rotated really well. And then the Lakers, obviously,
they scored 130 multiple times.
Yeah, close to it. We've seen them. I mean, they outscored the Warriors, who had the second best offense in the league. So yeah, I mean, I've been really impressed with both teams. I think right now I'm just going to give the Nuggets the advantage because they have home court, and neither team has lost in home court. Yeah, so I'm gonna just give the Nuggets the advantage at this juncture.
Fair enough. I can't blame you. Like I said, I mean, it's close, and I think I'm just gonna take the Lakers just because I think it'd be. I mean, I'm hoping. And I said this halfway through the first round. I'm hoping we get a bubble rematch in the finals. So I'm hoping the Lakers take the series and then the Heat beat whether it's Boston or Philly. I think that'd be awesome. And I do think the Lakers have a legitimate chance, and the Heat do too, but I'm a lot more skeptical about the Heat just because, I mean, we don't know who they're playing yet, and I do feel that overall they are lacking overall team balance. But I still think it's possible.
Yeah. So yeah, that brings us to our next topic. So we're gonna rank the NBA teams. We'll start with 5. This is based on who do you think has the best chance to win a title. We're gonna throw both Boston and Philly in here. So who do you have at your number 5 spot?
Honestly, Philadelphia. I think they have the least chance to win the title this year. Like I said, I mean, I think Boston has the upper hand in the series right now, and I feel like even if Philadelphia would win this game and then beat the Heat, I just feel like Denver and LA are both too dominant and strong for the Sixers.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Well, so considering they have to play Game 7 against 76ers, lowers their chances. But I'm gonna throw the Heat at 5. I mean, I think it's like the margin between I think 3 through 5 is really marginal for me in terms of I would not be surprised if any of these teams make it out and win it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll have a really good chance, but
yeah. Yeah, I think at 5. They just don't have the same amount of firepower as Boston and Philly and Denver and LA. But granted, they're a great defensive team. They can win those low scoring contests. I mean, they've won,
and they can score too.
Yeah. We saw them beat Milwaukee by scoring. So we know they have that potential, and Milwaukee's a great defensive team. Yeah.
So who do you want to put at your 4 then?
At my 4, I'll put
Philly.
Boston.
Boston, really?
So I think Boston's gonna win this series, but if I'm picking someone that I think has the better chance of winning the championship, I think it's Philly. Obviously Harden hasn't been the most consistent, but I think their stars are the most consistent. Embiid hasn't really had he had the bad game too, but he was coming off injury. Embiid's been very consistent. Harden, after the 2 poor games, he's been very consistent. Maxi's been good. Harris got to get it going, but I mean they got I think more. I just think they could. I don't know. It's really close, honestly, but I think they got the chops to match up with any team or in crunch time when it matters most. And Boston just hasn't shown that. I mean, they showed it last night, but prior to that, it seemed like every crunch time game they would lose, whether it be against Atlanta or Philly. What do you got at your 4?
I don't want to put Miami here, but I do think that Miami is the 4th, at least right now. I think if Philly would have already had the series, I probably would have put them higher. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be 5 then. But I think just the fact that the Celtics are still out there could hurt them just because they also have. I mean, I feel like they're similar to the Heat in the sense of having good defense and good offense, right? But they just have more players that can show up every night.
Yeah.
So I feel like they just have a better chance just because they have more people who can help you out if one guy doesn't have it. So that's the only reason why I think I'd put Miami at 4, and then that would put that would put Boston at my 3.
Yeah.
I do think that the 2 West teams have the best chance at the Lombardi Trophy. That's right. That's what I said. The Larry O'Brien Trophy. So which is kind of unfortunate, but I think the finals either way can still be really entertaining. But yeah, I put Boston at 3.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have Boston at 3. Not a whole lot of parity on this list, unfortunately. But yeah, Boston. I mean, they have championship, or they have finals experience. They got 2 young stars, wings. They got 6th man of the year. You got 2 great bigs.
You have the reigning defensive player of the year
right
from
in the
last year.
yeah. I mean, Marcus Smart is nothing to be scoffed at. But I don't see how they match up. I mean, I see how they match up, but I just don't like it against both LA and Denver.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that leads me to mine too, which is LA. Their defense just absurd. Offense controlled by LeBron and ran through LeBron, and he's getting other guys involved. Austin Reeves, if he continues to play like he did last night, D'Angelo Russell has to get going a little bit, but we've seen that he can.
Yeah. And I think that's the one safe thing there too, is they have normally Reeves or D'Lo, at least one of them playing
Well,
well.
and so another thing I like about the Lakers, if it's not Reeves, it's D'Lo. If it's not D'Lo, it could be Hachimura, it could be Schroeder. Even
They have options as well.
Lonnie Walker came out of nowhere.
I mean, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but I know for a lot of people.
Lonnie Walker can do.
I know for a lot of people that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been saying that you gotta
San Antonio fans, it's not.
You got to cut Beasley and put Lonnie in there, because I mean, even during the regular season when Lonnie played, he showed him to play.
Yeah, I mean, he was the starter for a good chunk
Yeah.
of the year.
And was I expecting him to score 15 in the fourth? Definitely not. But I knew he had that in him.
But yeah, we knew. I mean, even Malik Beasley has those.
I mean, I feel like Lonnie has more consistency though.
Yeah, but Malik Beasley has that.
Yeah, that's true.
And we've also seen Jared Vanderbilt take over a game with his defense.
Mhm.
Same with Anthony Davis. Same with
True. I mean, not
Schroeder.
I mean, I wouldn't say take over, but he can win a game for you with his defense.
Like he stripped Steph
Exactly.
a couple times.
Well, and then the Grizzlies during the regular season, he won them that game with the strip, and then he had one.
Yeah.
So he has it in him too.
Well, we've also Darvin Ham's defensive scheme is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Or whether that's Darvin Ham or just the players executing. Like we saw a lot of the Warriors screens were ineffective, which is a big part of their defense. And he was able to neutralize that. So I'm excited to see how he does against the Nuggets. How he adjusts. I mean, Darvin Ham really showed me these playoffs that he is a coach, a legit coach. I was really skeptical about him the whole season, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, he has.
I think most people were.
Yeah, I mean,
consider their season.
Yeah. Like as soon as he got a loaded roster, they started winning. We weren't sure if it was Darvin Ham or just the roster, or but Darvin Ham has a huge part to play. He benched Vanderbilt, put in 3 guards, and they were scoring like crazy.
Started Reeves, not Reeves. Schroeder.
Yeah. And then he's made adjustments like putting switching Davis onto freaking I'm blanking on this name. But
whoever.
Yeah. But he put him off ball, and then he was able to help out in the paint, and he's not putting that. He switched him off Draymond, and he so that he wasn't involved in pick and roll, so he could still effect on the defensive end.
Yeah, and then obviously, right, playing Lonnie instead of Beasley.
Yeah,
I mean, not every coach would do that, right? I mean, that's some coaches, right? I mean, you can see that they just play what they play, and they hope someone starts getting it.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of what separates a lot of good coaches from, or like great coaches from, just NBA coaches, right? Is they make adjustments like that.
Like
they figure out, okay, this guy's not feeling it right now. Let's try another guy that we know can score.
Yeah.
We know can play. Let's try and see what happens. They won because of him, actually.
That was our gripe of Mike Budenholzer. He didn't make those adjustments.
Exactly.
He didn't switch Giannis onto Jimmy when Jimmy was just shooting right over the top of Drew Holiday.
Exactly. That's why I think Coach Spo's a great coach too. I mean, he makes adjustments.
Yeah,
he started playing Duncan Robinson in the playoffs.
He's probably the best coach. I mean, him and Ty Lue are really good.
Yeah, and then you got Coach Pop too. I mean, there's some great coaches still out there, and in my opinion, I think they all know how to make adjustments.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to, right? Because if someone's not getting it, then figure out, hey, we'll get someone else. We'll run it through someone else. We'll play someone else. Just figuring out a different way to either score or play defense to keep yourself up or get yourself the lead.
For sure.
Yeah, so that means, I mean, my Nuggets are 2 and the Lakers are 1. But like I said, I think it's super close. Either team can take that. But I think, I think the Lakers just have so much willpower. And then I feel like too, especially just coming off their season, they have so much momentum, adrenaline. They're like, let's get this all the way now. Especially with just how they keep moving forward, right? Like they're in the conference finals now. People doubted they'd even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think that too. And then with that too, it's the first or the Heat are the second 7 team ever to make the conference finals. And I think the Lakers are probably first or second with 8 seed 2.
The way around.
Is it the other way around?
Well, the Heat are the second 8 seed.
Oh, right.
And then the Lakers are the
Heat were
first
the
7
8
seed.
seed, yeah. But that's crazy. And then obviously my prediction makes it sound even crazier because I want Heat. And I think Heat and Lakers can play. That's a 7 versus 8 seed in the final. That's probably the first time in NBA.
And something interesting, the Heat would have home court advantage in that series.
That's
which is mind blowing.
No, the Lakers would because they have 7.
No, but it goes by record once it crosses between conference.
Oh, that would be really interesting.
It would be.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
That's crazy. But that would be so exciting if you have a 7-8 seed matchup. And I mean the Heat, they've made 3 conference finals in the last 4 years now. That's crazy too, actually.
Yeah, so I saw this thing on Instagram. I don't know if it necessarily I agree with it, but it said that LeBron James, or it said Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler are the 2 greatest Heat players of all time, but LeBron James is the best. Would you agree with that? I think LeBron is still in that discussion as the best.
He's LeBron James.
Or as the greatest. Dwayne Wade's the greatest in my opinion. But for the little time LeBron spent there, he went to championships.
Yeah.
It took them to 4 finals appearances. So yeah, Jimmy Butler's not quite on that level. I think if he wins a championship, we could start discussing that. But
I wouldn't even say he's not quite on that level because I mean you've seen what he did. He does it.
Well, no.
He does it every year.
Yeah. But in terms of Heat greatness, I don't think you could put.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I see what you're saying. Yeah, but I mean,
in terms of individual though. I mean, we've seen almost nothing like what he's been doing.
Oh yeah, he's a different breed.
Yeah.
I love watching him. I wish he would get more respect and play a little harder during the regular season too, because that'd be so much fun.
Yeah, but
if you see this in the regular season from this guy,
he could actually win an MVP if he does.
Oh, he definitely could if he really wanted to. I think.
Yeah.
But he's just scared because of injuries and stuff.
Also, it's not like he's bad in the regular.
No, he's not.
So I saw a lot of people were like, "Oh, if only Jimmy Butler was good in the regular season." He was NBA's second team this year.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he averaged 23, 2 steals.
People just diss on him too much because they know what he can do.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, he sucks. He's not playing well. He's playing well. He's just not playing how good he can play.
Yeah.
And that's what makes some people upset as well, which I can see. But I can also see his side too. I mean, he still plays good, like we said, right?
So now the All NBA teams came out this week. We want to just break them down a little bit, give our thoughts. So let's bring the first team. It consists of Giannis, Embiid, Doncic, Tatum, and Shea. Do you have any grudge with that list?
I wanted to when I first saw it, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I think it's actually a really good list. I think I see why all these players are here. They all prove themselves, and some of the ones that you might be a little more questionable, right? Like I know some people might be like, "Oh, why is Shea on there, not Curry?" He had a better season than Curry in the sense of playing more games and what he did for his team. So I think that's accurate. I don't actually have a problem with him there. I mean, I am a Thunder fan, so I like that too. But I think just looking at it like that too, it makes sense, and there's not that much bias from it in that sense if you really look at the numbers and stuff like that. And then I mean Giannis, and I want to be mad about Embiid, but he won MVP, so it makes sense that he got it instead of Jokic, right? I mean, you can't put the MVP on the second team. That just doesn't make any sense. Luka is Luka. I don't know what point guard you put over him either. And then Tatum at small forward. I mean, you have LeBron, but I think with him too, it's just kind of games played at the end of the day. Yeah. And I mean, even season for the teams too. So I really don't have too many flaws about that. I think it's a pretty good list overall. When you really think about it.
Yeah. I mean, That's pretty much what I was expecting.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of was. I just didn't like some of the names because I feel like there's better players. But then, really thinking about it, it's like it's actually a good list.
Yeah. So second team was it was Steph, Jimmy, Nikola Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, and Jaylen Brown. I also have no gripes with this list necessarily. Just looking at it, I mean, I think, yeah, actually, I'm
I
completely.
mean,
fine
it's
with it.
a smaller lineup.
I think actually Dame should have made it above.
I was about to say I don't know
Donovan
if I don't sit well with Donovan Mitchell being on that team.
I think he's an all NBA guy, but I think Dame Lillard should have made it above him.
Yeah,
I mean, Dame had arguably the best year of his career.
yeah. I don't. That doesn't. I mean, I can see why he's on there, but I don't like that. I feel like someone else, especially considering the fact that you're missing a second big technically too. I feel like there's. I mean, Anthony Davis, potentially. I don't know. I feel like someone should have replaced Mitchell on the second team though.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah. I mean, Steph right there. Steph, Jimmy Butler, like you said, Jokic, Jaylen Brown. I mean, I think that's a really good list.
Deservingly.
Exactly. And then third team would be De'Aaron Fox, Damian Lillard, LeBron James, Julius Randle, and Sabonis.
Yeah, I think Anthony Davis. I would have put Anthony Davis above Randall probably. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's close.
I think Davis definitely should have been on the All NBA teams though.
I mean, I think if games played is a factor. Julius Randle did like 77 games, I believe.
Pretty.
I mean, he was an Iron Man until he injured that ankle, so I commend him for that. He had a great regular season,
True.
no doubt. I mean, I think Anthony Davis is just another beast. You know, he was an MVP candidate till he went out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably argue too, maybe Edwards for Randall or something as well.
Yeah, but I think Julius Randle had a better overall season than Edwards.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I would still probably take Edwards, but
and like we keep saying too, I think a lot of this too, I think has to do with team success as well. His team was more successful than Timberwolves.
Yeah,
but I do think Edwards' talent.
I don't like the team success.
I don't either.
All NBA team.
I don't either. I mean, I don't think it's that as much in there, but I do think it's still a factor in there.
I mean, if it's a guy like Jalen Green who's putting up
Damian Lillard. I mean, Damian Lillard made it, but he was on the third team. I think he could have been higher. Yeah. If his team would have been better, I think he would have been higher.
I mean, I don't think an empty stat guy. I'm not saying Jalen Green's empty stats. He's really young, but a guy that's putting up good numbers and efficiently, I don't think that constitutes an all NBA spot. But like Damian Lillard, he was basically 50, 40, 90, putting up 32 points per game on obviously the 13th seed, but he was carrying them.
Yeah.
And other guys like Luke and Shea, they didn't make the playoffs, but their impact was still seen on a high level. So I don't get the empty stats conversation with those guys.
Yeah. And you want to go to the defensive team?
Yeah, let's talk about defensive teams.
All right. So the first defensive team, we have Drew Holiday and Caruso at guards, and then you have Mobley and Jaren Jackson, and then you have Brook Lopez.
Yeah. I have no gripes with this list. I mean, it was pretty much verbatim what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think the first team is pretty good, but let's get to the second team here.
Yeah, that's where
this is where my.
So you start out with Draymond, who I had on my defensive team.
I'm fine with that one.
And then you got OG, who I'm more than okay with.
Oh yeah,
I think he had
very
arguably first team.
Very deserving.
Bam Adebayo, another very deserving guy, and then Derek White was very solid defender this year. I just think there's some other guys I
think there's better players left that were missed out that could have been there. I mean, it says here he's the point guard, which okay, if that is the thing, then maybe. But I feel like sometimes the positions shouldn't be as. And I mean, Bam literally played point guard. I mean, I know he is a center, but he can play the guard role. Draymond can too. So even if you're going in that sense, I mean, you don't want him like as your point guard, but like you have players like McDaniels, even Edwards again, Vanderbilt.
I'm gonna read you
great defenders.
And then also got
Dylan Brooks on there.
Dylan Brooks.
And I think both of those could have been replaced.
Yeah. So I'm gonna name you who the NBA players voted on as the best defender, and I'll show you numerous names that were left out that should have been on this list. So number 1 is Drew Holiday.
He was first team.
Number 2, Lou Dort.
He definitely could have replaced Brooks
Yeah.
in the sense of especially position.
3 was Brook Lopez, made it.
First
4, Marcus Smart, didn't make it. 5, Ben made it. 6, Jaden McDaniels. I cannot believe
Also could have replaced Brooks.
I cannot believe he didn't make it. 4, Giannis didn't make it. And then you got guys like Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, who definitely should have made it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, Mikal could have replaced those. I mean, Giannis too. I mean, that's kind of almost a joke, honestly. I mean,
yeah,
everybody knows that.
yeah.
I think at this point, it was too brain numb for some of them. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
people know.
I mean, I think Dylan Brooks, he got this reputation as he built up his name as a pest. But
Yeah,
I think, and then the media got caught up in that. Oh, he's a great defender, which he is a great defender at times, but
he's not all defensive.
He's not a lockdown. Like we've seen guys like Lou Dort lock down Kawhi for the win, lock down LeBron.
I mean, you've heard. I mean, Luka and some of these greats have come out saying he is the worst guy. They hate playing.
Yeah, Damian Lillard said he's the best in the NBA. Jaden McDaniels locked up. Can't remember. I think it was Dre or not Dre.
He slowed down Durant as well.
Yeah, we saw that in Phoenix. Giannis, obviously, I need no explanation. Mikal Bridges, I need no explanation.
Claxton, he was top. I know he was top 5 in defensive team.
And
Player of the year.
He was one of the best shot blockers. One of the best rim protectors in general, not just shot blocking. And then you got other guys like Anthony Davis, who could have easily made it. I know game played was probably a problem.
Probably, but I mean, he's
Walker Kessler, who was one of the best, who was, I think, statistically also a top 5 rim protector as a rookie.
I mean, Davis honestly just got robbed in so many ways this year too. I mean, especially with the All-Star. I mean, you had Zion on there and not Davis. Like that's a joke. That's a joke. I can see why if it's games played, but then you can't have Zion there.
Yeah. I think at the time, though, everyone assumed Zion would come back, so they were like, "Yeah, let's throw him on there." And I think Davis.
Yeah, but Davis was coming back. I mean, he was playing. So I think that, especially that. I mean, these, like I said, games play, that's fine, but especially for All-Star, that's a joke.
Yeah, just looking at these. Yeah, I think my biggest gripe with all these lists is the exclusion of Anthony Davis, which he's now rectifying in the playoffs. He's been top 5 player in the playoffs, just purely in the defensive end. Not to mention his offensive impact. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting stuff there for sure.
Yeah. Do we want to go over the rookie teams too?
Sure.
A quick little rundown. So the first team, so you have Mathurin, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, Paulo Banchero, Keegan Murray, and Walker Kessler. I'm overall okay with that, but personally, I do think Ivy should have gotten over Mathurin. I think Ivy was a better all-around and consistent player.
I'm with you there. I mean, I think Paulo, J-Dub, Kessler.
I think the other 4 are all very deserving.
Yeah.
But I do think that Mathurin has a few debates. Like I said, I think Ivy, I'm sure probably a few other guys that you could probably possibly throw in there, but I definitely think Ivy could have gotten it over him.
Obviously people say Ivy was just a good player on a bad team. But I just think he was so much more than that. He gives me flashbacks of young Westbrook. I'm not saying he's going to be a freaking Hall of Famer, but he definitely gives me the vibes. He's built like him. He's quick.
He plays.
His jumper was falling at the end of the season.
Yeah, and his playmaking too. He started playmaking like crazy too at the end.
Yeah.
Which then second team he's on there. So you have Ivy, then you have Eason, Jabari Smith, Sohan, and Duran. Which, I mean, I can't complain about that in the sense of names that I would put over them.
Let me just look at some names that
Yeah, I mean, I know Nembhard was a good rookie, but I don't know if I'd put him on here.
Yeah.
I don't think he was quite that good yet, but he definitely too has great potential, I think. As a point guard, as a defender.
The first name that popped up when I searched up top rookies was Ben Simmons. So
that's not this year.
Mark Williams was.
Yeah, I can see why he was left out though, but he showed to. He played a few games as well, right?
Another guy, maybe AJ Griffin.
Shaden Sharp.
I saw a lot of people complain about Shaden Sharp, and he played great at the end of the year. I could see it. Jalen Williams, Jay Will got a couple votes. I don't see it though.
No.
Branham played well at the end.
You have Ochai and Hardy. They had those few good games when they needed to, but obviously not enough sample size.
In general,
think,
Christian
yeah.
Brown, he had an argument. I
Maybe
think.
Roddy,
Maybe Roddy, but in general, I think all these teams were deserving.
yeah, I think so too.
It's just a matter of
obviously that
little.
little, yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was all NBA rookie and defense in our opinions. Interesting stuff.
Mhm.
Obviously can't change it.
Yeah.
But it's fun to look at sometimes and drop whatever you guys think as well in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are on any of those teams, all those teams, whatever you want.
Mhm.
But yeah,
All right. See y'all next week.
see y'all.